Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Once again, you are most welcome to Humanist TV Africa, the series that we are running them during the month where we scale up consumer awareness like not any other month, because it is the month when we commemorate the consumer rights. So tomorrow, 15th March, is the designated day by the United Nations to commemorate consumer rights. You'll all appreciate, as consumers, we have got a right and we have got responsibilities. So as we dive into the month of March, we are looking at a theme of this year that is a just transition of sustainable lifestyles, or just transition to sustainable lifestyles by consumers. And as all of us as consumers, whether we are in the executive, where we are in the judiciary, whether we're in the legislature, whether we're regulators and business, we need sustainable lives to have a sustainable economy and also to be productive and also enhance production. So all that said, today we would like to continue with our series of positioning consumers for a just transition to sustainable lifestyles. And today we have our usual guest. We have got Ms. Agnes Chilabo, the Chief Executive of Food Rights Alliance. She's going to share with us her perspective on the topic with regards to the agri-food systems. You'll know that food is everything. Then we also have Mr. Bernard Boambale, who is a programs manager with Consent and also a coordinator with the Food Safety Coalition Uganda. The foundation, and myself, your host, Chimera Henry. I do team leading at Consent, and we are greatly honored to Humanist TV Africa and its management, the Humanist Media Africa, for this opportunity. And all our viewers, I couldn't believe the figures that over 4,000 to 5,000 of you have re-reviewed and have shared all these series that we have on a weekly basis. So once again, I would like to wish you the best Consumer Rights Day, that is on 15th tomorrow, but with us as partners, we commemorate the consumer rights throughout this month and throughout the year, 365 days. So Agnes, I would like to welcome you to our program today and also to ask you, with all your experience, given your co-convening with regards to the agri-food system, agri-food systems, and also with all your professional aspects, what do you think as we are positioning consumers for sustainable lifestyles? What actions do we need? Where do we need to trigger? Does governance play a role? And do businesses have a role? And do civil society and us consumers have a role in all this journey? Agnes, the trajectory of sharing is all yours now.
Thank you so much, Henry. And let me take this opportunity to greet you, colleagues, Henry, Bernard, and all the technical team that is working in the background to relay this conversation to the entire world, but also to congratulate you upon seeing another Consumer Rights Day that is coming tomorrow. We pray that God grants us the remaining few hours and we live to see that day and mark it. This year we are celebrating this Consumer Rights Day tomorrow, under that theme that you have properly shared with our viewers, a just transition to sustainable lifestyle. Since last week, I take off a moment to reflect on the people that put together these words to make this theme, a just transition to a sustainable lifestyle. 4 very strong concepts. Concept number 1 is the concept of justice. And then concept number 2 in the theme is the concept of transition. Concept number 3 is the concept of sustainability. And then concept number 4 is the concept of lifestyle. Viewers out there, it is quite very unfortunate that many of us human beings identify with so many groups. We associate with so many things, either as women, we have clubs, men groups, ethnic groups, professional groups, several groups that we all associate with. But it is very, very difficult to find a body and people that associate with a lot of vigor and vibe and eager as consumers. For me, this pains me because we are all consumers. And if we talk about our rights as consumers, we are talking about everybody. It is quite very unfortunate that fellow consumers reach out to us and they're like, please, can you speak for us? Can you do this for us? And this is where, Henry, I pick one action that we must work on, all stakeholders. What motivates the consumers to think that others should be the ones to agitate for their rights? It should be others to defend their rights. Any other person, any other party, apart from them. And for me, it is my prayer that for the next year, from tomorrow to until we celebrate another Consumers' Rights Day, let us gear all our efforts in building the civic consciousness of consumers. We have consumers that do not care. We have consumers that do not mind. We have a body of consumers that only go to a shop or a marketplace, and the only question they ask the vendor is the price question. We have consumers that only buy based on price. We have consumers that buy based on pressure, peer pressure. We have consumers that buy based on taste. They have consumers that consume based on trends. We have consumers, just imagine, you consume price, you consume trends, you consume out of pressure, you consume, how can we continue living such a life? Many consumers, why they are consuming in that manner, it is because they transited. They transited, and it is quite very unfortunate. We are having a conversation with Bernard in the previous session last week, and we wanted to ask and mobilize our viewers to reflect on where they transited from where they are and where they are transiting. So people transited, consumers transited. We know that within the African traditions, Africans were consuming identity. Their food was based on their cultural identity, was based on their cultural values. There was a lot of rituals that were associated with food. And when you look at these rituals that were since discarded, there were rituals that were aiming at respecting and recognizing food not just as an item, but as part and parcel of the entire ecosystem, the human life, the environment, the social relations, and all of these aspects we since transited and went to consume price, we went to consume peer pressure, we went to consume trends, we went to consume taste. So as we celebrate the day tomorrow and throughout the year, dear fellow consumers, what did you transit from? And that transition that you took, what were the losses and what have been the benefits in terms of your identity, in terms of your human dignity, in terms of your health, in terms of your credibility and legitimacy as a human being. The second aspect in these transitions that we make are the issues of justice. Let me start by asking you and challenging you, dear viewers, as I challenge myself. Was your transition just to yourself to start with? Was it just to your health? Was it just to your finances and incomes? Was it just to the people that you associate with, the community that you live with? Was it just to the economy? Was it just to the environment? Do you really feel that you're fair to yourself? Do you really feel that you're fair to the people that you interact with? Do you really feel that your transited actions are fair to your environment? Henry and colleagues, if we reflect on these two aspects, the justice and then the transition, they have a direct impact on the sustainability of our actions, the sustainability of our lives, of our health, of the health of the people around us, of the health of the environment we are living in, and the sustainability of the system that is supplying our behaviors, and in this case, our food behaviors. Look at the way you eat, dear consumer, because let me talk about food. One, it is something that I believe in. Two, it is something that I believe is central to humanity. And then three, it is something that I believe every consumer associates with every day, or struggles to associate with every day. And four, it is fundamental. The way you eat, your food behaviors, what you eat, is it just to your health? Is it just to your life? Is it just to the environment? Will you transfer your food behaviors to your great-grandchildren? Will that kind of food still be available? Is it something that you desire to sustainably associate with in life and death? So today, dear viewers, I'm asking you more questions than providing you answers, because this day is set aside for all of us to take personal reflection, and then we choose to take personal action. Therefore, Henry, I'm not going to ask for so many actions. I'm going to ask that we take personal responsibility, and that personal responsibility is going to come out of our personal reflection on our behavior, on our transitions, and on our lifestyles. And then the other action that I invite everybody to invest in, something that I'm doing right now and we are doing here at Humanist TV, is to raise the civic consciousness of consumers. Dear consumers, transit at your own risk to start with, and make sure that the transition that you're taking is not first transiting you to your everlasting resting place. Enjoy the Consumer Rights Day. Transit in a most just manner, sustainable, and then it will give you a lifestyle of dignity and honor in life and in death.
Thank you very much, Agnes. That is a good reflection. As you shared, I was reflecting on myself that as I do empower, as I do advocate, am I just? Am I in that transition, like you've put it? And am I doing things sustainably to lead that lifestyle that is productive, that is meaningful? I just comprehended everything. Some of us, we must have shifted from sustainable life to unsustainable life, where you find that somebody might leave the rural area and come into the urban area where one had dignity in the rural area, and you come to the urban area and you lose all the dignity. So that transit where you are, one might say you are moderately okay in the rural area, and then you come to the urban area, you are a part of the urban poor. So all these bring in, and all your lifestyle changes, your feeding, where you are not wasting food in the rural area, you come to the urban area, you're wasting food, or vice versa. So I've just liked all the narrative that you've brought in, and in a way of question and checking our civic conscience, our responsibility. Are we transiting from sustainability to unsustainable lifestyles? And all these, even the way you brought it in, the just, are the governance systems providing us that justice? Are we inclusive? Are we intending? I always tell people that consumer welfare is a barometer of the country's welfare. So if we consumers, whether in urban, rural, we are unjust in our behavior, we are wasteful, then the sustainable lifestyle that we are looking for and the civic conscience is going to be a very big challenge. And like you put it, the governance aspect, that was something very good. We can be intending to be sustainable with our energy consumption, but policy can fail that. And it ends up taking us to using charcoal, cutting down trees. But if there is an intent and a good policy, it will take us to renewable energy, where issues of affordability, accessibility would come in. So Agnes, thank you very much. I know you're very busy, and I would like to thank you for putting off this time to come and share with us those very good aspects. And also, once again, happy Consumer Rights Day and all the best. And I always say you are one of my best consumer champions, because whenever you talk about food passionately and linking it to other humanities, all aspects of humanity, I get mesmerized. So thank you very much, and let's continue in that you have set for us of building and nurturing a civic consciousness of consumers. Thank you very much, Agnes.
Thank you so much, Henry. I just wish to exit by telling viewers that we cannot have macro policies work for us if our micro policies at individual and household levels are in disarray. Economies that we desire to live in where consumers seem to be protected, they have a very strong consumer consumer body that is very civically conscious. Actually, what those economies and governments are doing, they only put the policies in place such that the consumer demands are protected by policy, and not the other way around.
True.
It is the consumers that demand what they want to eat, and then government makes it a regulation for whoever is providing food in that economy. For us, this side of the world, we think the policies are going to do and fix everything for us. I wish to tell you, consumers, that our governments are very diverted in so many other things apart from us. And they are very poor in terms of resources to be able to manage the environment up to your personal level. If I take responsibility, Henry takes responsibility, Bernard takes responsibility, and everybody takes the responsibility, that is going to be a different society. And then we are going to be saying you can do certain things elsewhere, but when you enter this community, you can't do certain things. And then we can together come and hold our governments accountable. Then they will put the policy frameworks that are going to protect us and promote what we desire to have. Lest that, the policies shall be made and shall remain on paper, and many of them shall be controversial. Let us take personal responsibility first, and then we demand for our desires, responsible desires, to be protected by the law.
Thank you very much, Agnes. That was powerful, and you crowned it up very well. And in all this, to realize this, I've liked consumer responsibility is going to play a major role. Thank you very much, Agnes. Bernard, Agnes gives us a beautiful categorizer, and she digs deep into our conscience. Our conscience tells us what to eat. Our conscience decides for us what kind of lifestyle. But that conscience also needs to be guided. And I would like to hear your guidance into that consciousness with regard to the transition of a just and sustainable lifestyle using the food systems lens. And I know you're going to use so many lenses, because in the food system is all about the lens you like most. A healthy and a well-nourished consumer who eats nutritious food. And that's where food safety hinges quite a lot on your mind. So Bernard, the floor is yours. You can dissect the topic. It's good that you started on the journey last Friday, because when I listened to the program, it was so sweet, because you grounded the discussion from a global to a national and up to household. So it is nice having you again, and Agnes, to continue the conversation in this Consumer Right Month. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Henry, for inviting us and for always hosting us. And usually it is difficult to speak after Agnes and Henry. You may run short of what you want to speak, because now when the elders have spoken, Now, as the young ones, the Gen Zs, we don't have so much to say. Well, but I think the discussion is really very interesting, that there is a lot of understanding that we need to picture in this whole narration. But you know, where I come from, it is always good that people even understand what we are talking about. So for instance, when I look at the theme that we are discussing, it's a whole PhD, I think, of somebody that you cannot explore. Now, for instance, I want to look at each of those statements or each of those words in the theme differently. And my interest would be around lifestyle. When we say lifestyle, what exactly are we even talking about? You know, so some people think that lifestyle is, I don't know, but we need to look at what exactly lifestyle would mean. What are we talking about when we refer to lifestyle? And what are we talking about when we say a consumer? What are we talking about when we talk about transition? Where are you transitioning from? Where are you and where do you want to transit? And what is sustainable? What are we talking about? What is this entire sustainability issue we're talking about? And why are we interested in it anyway? So that's where I want to start from, so that we shall build on those blocks to make sure that we probably handle the subject matter. Of course, adding on what Ms. Agnes has been telling us about. So let us look at, for instance, lifestyle. Lifestyle, what are we talking about every time we talk about lifestyle? So lifestyle is basically the way you, the listener or the individual, it could be an individual or a group of individuals. How do you live your life? That is lifestyle. The way an individual lives their life, period, nothing else. So how are you living this life? What are you doing in this life on a daily basis? What is it that you do? That is what we are talking about as a lifestyle. So if I relate that lifestyle to the food system, I would now start asking, how do you produce food? How do you transport your food? How do you handle your food after harvesting it? Where do you keep that food? How do you prepare that food? How do you serve it? How do you eat it? And thereafter, what do you do with what you've eaten? So when I talk about a lifestyle, I am basically referring to that, as simple as that. The way an individual lives their life, period, lifestyle. So everything you're doing on a daily basis makes up your lifestyle. So if you now take it to the sustainable food system, now the question would be looking at the food, how you produce the food, how you harvest it, how you handle it after harvest, how you take it to the market, how you position it in that market, or how you buy it and bring it home, how you're going to prepare it and how you consume it. How are you doing that on a daily basis? It gives us a lifestyle. So the question now here would be, okay, so when I talk about sustainability, what am I talking about when I say sustainable lifestyle? Anyway, do we even have a lifestyle that is sustainable? So every time you're talking about sustainable lifestyle, you are basically, maybe let me first look at sustainability itself. When we say sustainability, it is doing something now. You're able to do it today, tomorrow, the other day, and the other day. So you're able to do it over and over again when you're not exploiting it. But you should make sure that the future generation that comes after you finds what you've been using and they also use it. So you should use something without compromising the ability of the future generation to use the same. So for instance, if you are using a piece of land to cultivate the food that you are eating, make sure that you use this land in such a way that the land should be able to give you the food now, tomorrow, until you leave. But the people who will come after you should be able to use the same piece of land to produce their own food. You just imagine if our grantees did not use the soil the way they used it, what would we be using now? So they used it 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, and we still found it. Every time you go to your home, just imagine that that piece of land you are using now was used 1,000,000 years ago by somebody. So if that person did not use it sustainably, you wouldn't find it there. So what we are asking now in terms of sustainability, use what you are using. make sure that by the time you leave the earth and you leave it here, your child, your grandchild, and your grandchild should find that same resource and they use it. That is sustainability. Now, when you talk about sustainable lifestyle, having understood what lifestyle is, sustainable lifestyle will therefore mean the ways of living that will aim to minimize environmental impact while promoting social equity and also economic well-being. That what I'm doing now in my everyday things, everything that I do in my life, I must make sure that I have one aim. The aim is to minimize environmental impact. Why do you need to minimize environmental impact? Because you'll still live in that environment. So you need to keep it as safe as possible so that it doesn't cause you disease. It doesn't cause those people who are coming after you into danger. It doesn't cause animals and other living things within it. It doesn't compromise them, you know. So the aim should be minimizing environmental impact. When I minimize environmental impact, it should also promote social equity. That's why we're talking about the word just, the justice issue. That whatever I am doing must be socially impactful to everybody or to the ecosystem. Socially. That for instance, if I am smoking, what social impact do I have to my colleagues who are seated near me? If I am eating food, what social impact am I causing to those around me? If I am cultivating, what is the social concern that I'm causing to my neighbors who are staying around me? So when you look at it that way, in the social perspective, now we're talking about sustainable lifestyle. Now, if the environment, you are minimizing impact on environment and you're promoting social equity, now ask yourself the third question. What is the economic well-being that I'm leaving behind by my action? Now, to bring it back to the normal sense, if I am smoking and I have two colleagues on my side, what is the economic impact that I'm causing to them? I may cause them disease because they are passive smokers and they end up getting lung cancer and they end up spending all their livelihoods in treating the cancer. Economic. What economic impact am I causing by my lifestyle, my action? For instance, if you're producing food and you are using highly hazardous pesticides, spraying them across the garden, think about your neighbor or the people who are staying closer to your garden. If you are spraying a highly hazardous pesticide and someone is inhaling it in the next household, what economic sense are you causing to them? They're going to inhale it, and there are two things involved. If it is highly hazardous, they can inhale and die. Who is going to take care of their children when they die? Okay, let us assume they have not died, but they have gotten a disease. Where are they getting the money to treat the disease? Economic impact of your activity to your neighbor. What if you are the one spraying and then you are pregnant and you have a highly hazardous pesticide and then you inhale it and it goes into your reproductive system, into your fetus, and starts affecting the fetal development? How much money are you spending to deal with that pregnancy outcome? There are children who are deformed while they're in their mother's wombs because their mothers used the wrong chemicals during production. What is the economic impact you are going to suffer by looking at this child who is deformed because of your wrong action? First of all, you are hindering the environment. You are endangering actually the environment by spraying a highly hazardous pesticide, which is killing all the birds, all the insects which are pollinators, etc. Now it goes into your body and it affects the baby that you're carrying, and the baby gets deformed, and then you give birth to a child with deformities. When you give birth, they tell you now this child will be sustained in the hospital for 10 months. Now, what is the social impact? What is the economic impact? What was the environmental impact? So when the environmental impact, economic impact, and the social impact are tampered with, we are not talking about anything sustainable. It means that every lifestyle that you've been living is not sustainable. Let us give another example. Let us assume you've bought all this food and now it is in your house. But your lifestyle is, you've just decided to be eating highly fatty food. You're consuming a lot of sugar, that is your style. You're eating a lot of junk, you are eating, and at the end of the day, the consumption patterns lead you into overweight. You even continue because people assume that when you are overweight, now you have money. You continue eating junk and you end up in obesity. When you go into obesity, now you are weighing 250 kilograms. Now, socially, people look at you in the environment, want to associate with you. People start laughing at you because you are extremely huge. Now, do you see that you, because of your practice of eating wrongly, you are causing yourself a social injustice? Even to a point that some people who are obese, they don't want to go out to see people because they feel every time they pass somewhere, people are looking at them with another eye. Now you become a social misfit. But why are you a social misfit? Because of your lifestyle of wrongly consuming food. As if that is not enough, that obesity leads you into a number of non-communicable diseases, because suddenly you have hypertension, you can get diabetes, you can get cancers, or even all of them. Ask yourself, how much money am I going to use to treat this whole thing? You are treating obesity, you are treating diabetes, you are treating high blood pressure, you are treating arthritis, you are treating joint pain, you are treating all those non-communicables coming. How much money do you need to treat that? So when you look at sustainable lifestyles and you look at them from those three perspectives, the economic, the social, and the environmental perspective, you see that we, like it or not, we must transit to that sustainable lifestyle we want. So just given that background, you like it or not, you must join me to transit from this recklessness of the current consumption patterns to sustainable lifestyles. If we don't transit from where we are now to sustainable lifestyles, we are likely to have a challenge in the near future. Our children are going to have a challenge. Our grandchildren will not just have a challenge, theirs will be a double challenge, even a triple challenge, because they will find a compromised environment, they will find a compromised social life, they will find a compromised economic system. And at the end of the day, if you don't have the social justice, you don't have environmental justice, you don't have economic justice, what will you have? It means you cease to be a consumer. So those are two definitions that I would want us to go with. What is a lifestyle? What is then sustainable lifestyle? Once you understand that and you picture it that way, every other thing we're going to talk about becomes a little bit easier. Now, let me quickly talk about the different factors that are within these lifestyles. We're talking about your daily habits. How do you, I don't know, the habit of doing things. Now, currently, when you go to the production, remember a food system is a complex kind of system. It is a complexity of a number of activities that are happening to make sure that people have food. So we're talking about post-production. You are going to plant beans, but where are you getting the seed? If the seed is unsustainable seed, it means that you can plant it, but you can never use it again. So what that means, you'll keep buying it, And every time you buy, you spend money, and yet you would have actually reserved some seed for production. But the question is, are the seeds we are even cultivating sustainable? The mere fact that you go these days, you buy seed and you can only use it for one season and you cannot replant it, very unsustainable seed system. Now, as people in the food system, we need to rethink, how do we get sustainable seed systems? We have not yet gone to production. We are still at seed. How do we ensure that we have a sustainable seed system, that these seeds can sustain themselves over and over again? What about these other inputs we are using? How sustainable are they? Are you able to have access to them today, tomorrow, the other day, the other season, and the other season? Sustainability. Whenever you mention the word sustainability, please keep referring to the other three words: socially, environmental, and economic. Those three must be triggering in your mind. When we say seed system, sustainable seed system, think about, are the seeds we have socially viable? Are the seeds we have economically viable? Are the seeds we have environmentally viable? If they are not, then we need to think about transitioning backwards to get sustainable seed systems. Away from the seed, what next? We are going now to production. You have a sustainable seed. Now, are you able to sustainably produce a sustainable seed? We're now in production. Pre-production, we are done with seed. Now let us go to seed. Assuming now you have access to a sustainable seed. Now the question would be, am I able to keep a sustainable seed in a sustainable production line? Do I have a sustainable production system? When I plant my seed, am I able to maintain the sustainability of this seed during the course of production? What am I using as inputs after planting? What inputs, what pesticides, what chemicals, what am I using as fertilizer? What am I using as pesticides? What am I using as fungicides? What am I using as preservative? What is it that I'm using? If I am using a pesticide, go back to sustainability. Is it sustainable? Socially, economically, and environmentally. The moment those inputs are not socially viable, for instance, pesticides that you can use and they end up killing people, pesticides that we are using and they are not environmentally viable, meaning that you found the environment with bees and now your chemical is taking away the bees. You found the environment with worms that were opening the soil. Now your chemicals are causing death of these microorganisms in the soil. And then there is a problem, the environmental perspective. When you go to the economy, how much money are you using to buy all of those pesticides and how much do you earn in return? Some people use pesticides which are highly hazardous, and when they use them, they have a bigger production. The tomatoes are very big, but then they assume that we have produced so much, and so we have earned so much from the production, but they forget the expenditure they make. You've produced a lot of produce, you've sold higher money, but you've gone to the hospital and spent more money than you actually got from production. So when you're talking about sustainable lifestyles in the food system, we could go on and on and on. So let me leave a little bit the production bit, and I say, okay, so when you go into post-harvest handling, now you have harvested your food, you have it at home. Are the storage mechanisms sustainable socially, economically, and environmentally? When you store that food, are you cognizant of the sustainable food system? Okay, you've kept it. Now you take it to the market. The transport means that you are using to transfer this food from your home or from your farm to the market, how sustainable is it? We have seen people using trucks which are DMCs, very old trucks. By even the time you reach the market, the food that you're carrying is already contaminated by the fumes that are coming from your own vehicle. What about the way you're transporting animals? I have seen people getting 2 pigs on a motorcycle or 2 goats on a motorcycle. By the time these animals reach the market, they have accumulated lactic acid, and all consumers who are going to feed on these animals are actually feeding on lactic acid. What is the impact of the lactic acid from the animals? This is a huge problem. So at the end of the day, the consumer is going to eat meat full of lactic acid. And when it has lactic acid, it means that it is going to be hard to eat, and our enzymes may not actually work on the meat. And so people are not able to derive the nutrition that we require from those animals. So the bit of sustainability is a very crucial matter for consumers. And then also I want maybe to speak through consumers. Consumers are not a particular category of people. Consumers are basically all of us. Whether you are the president of this country, you are a lawmaker, a legislator, you are a judicial officer. All of those positions and titles are just words. They actually mean nothing. The word that matters is a consumer. Why? Because the president is a consumer of food, of water, of electricity, of air, of everything. So irrespective of the fact that he's a president, but he is a consumer. So when you look at what Agnes was telling us, for instance, that we can do policies, but we must start with our own regulation as individuals, because we are consumers. But nevertheless, the legislators who are supposed to make laws, they are not making them for us. They are making them for themselves too, because they are consumers. So as a matter of fact, every individual you see on the planet Earth is a consumer. So you guys who are in lawmaking and you think you are making a consumer protection bill, you are not making it for anybody. You are making it for yourself, because you are a consumer. So refusal to make such a bill as productive as it should be, because you think that you are not a consumer, you are just lying to yourself. You must actually transit to the just sustainable lifestyle, because your lifestyle is not sustainable. You are forgetting that actually what you're doing is for yourself. All MPs who make policy, who make laws, who legislate, they are not legislating for anybody. They are legislating for themselves, their children, their friends, and fellow citizens. So whenever you are refusing to do what you are supposed to do, you are not refusing to do it for anybody else. You are actually refusing to do it for yourself, because you are a consumer. The moment you are seated, for instance, in Parliament making those laws, don't think that you are outside the law. You are making it for yourself. You're actually protecting yourself. Only that we have sent you to go and represent the consumer entity. These guys you're calling your constituents. These are consumers. Basically, the word should even be consumers. Because even when you're in Parliament and you're consuming, what are you consuming? Food. So how safe is the food? How nutritious is the food? How sustainable is this food being produced? Is your business. Because this is your food, it is yours. Don't refer to anybody away from you, because you are a consumer, period. So every time we do something, do it knowing that you are doing it for yourself and the colleagues who don't have an opportunity to come and sit where you are. If you're coming up with a policy on water, on air, on environment, on anything, you are doing it for yourself and the people that you are representing. So basically, everything we are doing must be in the best interest of the consumer. So whether you are seated in your chair there, you think you're a big man, yes, but everything you're doing is for your protection as a consumer. So we must make sure that all activities we do, all decisions we are making up there, all programs we are developing, all projects you are writing, must be pro-consumer. Because if it is a farming, for instance, if it is a farming project, who is going to do it? It is the farmer. The farmer is a beneficiary of that project, but she is a consumer. When you think of making a highly hazardous pesticide, the farmer will consume it because she's going to spray it and she'll keep on inhaling it. So she's already a consumer of the chemical. When a farmer is going to use an irrigation kit, they are a consumer of that service. So whenever you give them irrigation kits that are not eco-friendly, you're actually affecting them. And by the way, when they produce the food, they are not going to eat it alone. They will bring it to the market where you, the regulator, where you, the legislator, where you are the president, whatever you are, you don't have capacity to produce that food. They will produce for you that food using your wrong things, and they bring it back to you. And you will consume it, certainly. And you will not know that actually the person you gave a wrong chemical is the one who produced that food. No. For you will be in the market now as a consumer of the service of the trader. But the trader got that tomato from the farmer. And the farmer got that seed which you polluted, which you made unsustainable, got it from you. So it is a whole chain of things. You will still find that tomato on your plate, sustainably unproduced, and you're going to unsustainably eat it. So as consumers, just know that everything rotates around us. We are the ones giving people wrong things. We are the same people consuming them. So when you're talking about sustainable lifestyles, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about how do we make sure that everything I do, everything you do is not going to environmentally impact, socially impact, or negatively impact on the economy. So environment, think about it. Social, think about it. Economics, think about it. And economics should not be looked at as GDP. You see, that's where the problem is. Rather, economics should not be looked at as GDP. It should be looked at in every aspect. How much money am I spending when I use this chemical, which is highly hazardous, to produce food? One, you spend a lot of money to come and kill microorganisms that were in your soil. Two, you use a lot of money to come and destroy your own soil. Three, you spend a lot of money to come and inhale a wrong chemical to go into your body to damage your organs. Now, when it damages your organs, you spend even more money to go and buy medication, if at all that medication even exists in your country. That medication may not even exist in your country. Then it means you have invested a lot of money to literally sell your whole piece of land so that you can be taken to India or China for a surgery. But you only spend 40,000 Ugandan shillings to buy a wrong chemical. But look at what has caused. Environmentally, all the insects, all the birds, all the bees have relocated, and so you don't expect a lot of produce or pollination happening. You've used it and has entered your skin, it has put down all your organs, and now you have to sell the whole piece of land to go to India. So you see economics, social issues, and environmental issues at once, you have infringed on them. And at the end of the day, my message is we must transition from our wrong lifestyles we are living now. We are eating a lot of junk, we are producing food using pesticides which are highly hazardous. We are using wrong transport means. We are spending electricity recklessly. We are driving DMC vehicles. Everything we are doing currently seems to be on a wrong footing. We need, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, to think about transitioning from our bad behavior, habits, practices that we're doing that are actually affecting our environment, affecting our social well-being, affecting our economics. And at the end of the day, we are still the victims of the circumstances. So what we are saying is that as we commemorate the Consumer Rights Month, let us understand our rights. You have to be aware, you have to know, you have to be informed of all these things. And that's what we are doing, to inform you, to give you knowledge, to give you awareness, to make sure you understand what you are supposed to do. And once you have understood your rights, fight for them. Fight for them. Make sure you fight for your rights. And when you fight for your rights, make sure that you are also doing your part as a consumer, because we also have our responsibilities of social concern. Are you socially concerned about what is going around you? So our rights must match with our responsibilities for us to transit to a just, sustainable lifestyle. I know that our time is running out, but I think this is the message that we are catching up with all our colleagues. If you're a religious leader, join the campaign. If you're a cultural leader, join the campaign. If you're a civil society organization, join us. If you're a politician, join us. If you're a consumer, for you don't just need to join us, you must join us so that we fight for what we are supposed to have. So once we don't fight for what we are supposed to have, then no one will fight for us. By the way, what I'm talking about, I'm saying us, the consumers. Now just imagine, unless you are not a consumer, but everybody is a consumer, so all of you must join this team to reach wide and far and deliver sustainable lifestyles to our people, to ourselves, and we sustain the life that we have. We cannot live twice. Let us live it now, but let us live it sustainably, assuring that our children, our grandchildren, and their grandchildren, in other words, the generations to come, they should find the air clean, they should find the land okay, they should find the economics that are stable, they should find social justice, they should find environmental justice, they should find everything sustainable so that they can use it. Otherwise, if our elders didn't use this planet the way we found it, then we would be nowhere. Now you are busy meeting gases, you are busy. We must make sure that our lifestyle delivers what we are supposed to deliver to the next generation. The next generation should be able to use what they have found, and also they live it smart. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is a snapshot of what we can share for now. I believe that next week we should be able to share the same until the month ends, trying to build pieces, blocks, to make sure that we have sustainable lifestyles, and we make sure that the generations to come will not regret why we were born before them. Thank you so much. And Henry, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Bernard. That is quite rich, and I really appreciated the way you went around the consumer rights, bringing in and telling us we are the biggest socioeconomic grouping. Whoever is not a consumer must be dead or not yet born.
Yeah.
Once the mothers conceive, you start becoming a consumer. So
actually, Henry, you must revise. Henry, you must revise that sentence, because we cannot be the biggest. We cannot be the biggest, because when you say biggest, it means you are comparing us. There are three groups. So big, bigger, biggest. Now that everyone is a consumer, we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I have, as we sum up, I've just loved your sharings with you and Agnes. They are quite rich. You brought out all the narrative of the consumer rights. You have the right to the food, but how do you choose it? How do you utilize it? And how we end up with a healthy environment, then sticking to the responsibility of being critically aware, taking action, having social concern, and thinking about the environment we live in, and the solidarity that you grown up with, that we must work together as consumers, solidarity to push the laws that will provide us a just transition to sustainable lifestyles. So in winding up, I find that as consumers, we need to continuously analyze the situation. We need to understand it. So we can't do things alone. So that's why the global consumer movement, we are corroborating and we are collaborating with all others in more than 200 countries. 150 countries, over 200 consumer organizations. We are collaborating to pass on the message. And as we pass on the message, we are advocating. We are advocating to the governance, to the legislature, to the judiciary, to the regulators, that policies must be in place, regulations, standards. And if we do analyze, understand our lifestyles, we collaborate, we advocate, we are going to be in position to sustain the lifestyles that are healthy, where we are conforming to the right living, and where we are seeking better businesses to provide us those good, the life that is sustainable, healthy diet, clean transport, clean energy, fair digital services, fair financial services. We are in position to save and invest in sustainable production, and which is also responsible. And then we will be in position to be that global world that is leading to sustainable life. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much, our producer, Dennis Bongole, and all your colleagues, wherever they are, where the Humanist TV Africa has got branches. I would like to thank you very much. And also our chief host, Kato Paul Mukasa, wherever you are, we thank you and the management of Humanist TV or Humanist Media Africa for always giving us this opportunity to reach out to the global world, and we share our perspectives. So consumers, that include us all, I wish you a happy Consumer Rights Day tomorrow, 15th March. Let's not stop with all these. We are going to continuously share with you issues that can facilitate a just transition to sustainable lifestyles. Let's campaign and advocate to government, businesses, and also to ourselves, starting with our households. So thank you very much, and I wish you a superb weekend. Till next Friday.